Let's start with the system landscape directory. So for this, the SLD is accessed via a web browser. So we enter our domain port, and then we can type in here SLD. So we are directed to the system landscape directory. It's asking for a username and password. Let's log on. And this is the interface of the SLD. On the right side we have the landscape, the systems. In the middle we have the software catalog, and on the right side we have the development. So let's start on the left side. Here we can define technical systems which we want to integrate to. Mostly SAP systems like ERP, CRM are defined here. So you can enter the technical system and say new technical system, and then you will start the process of registering a new system. Here you can see that you can choose whether you want an application server ABAP stack or Java. The wizard changes. You can choose standalone, or you can choose any third-party system. This is one installed technical system. This is the PI system itself. So let's turn back. Here we have the landscape. Right now we haven't created any landscapes. And then we have the business system. The business system is the business side on top of the technical system. Here we can see that our technical system, this one, is associated with the business system we just saw. So when I click this, it will go to the business system and says that the technical system is the foundation of this business system. So I can install multiple business systems on one technical system. In our hands-on training, we will not use this part. We will define business components and integration directory. So then we have the software catalog. Here we can create products and we can create software components. There are a lot of predefined products which you can see and you can install. Let's check them out. And in our hands-on training, we will define and create our own product with our own software component and our own software component version. So let's check the products. The products are predefined. So when you install PI, you will get a lot of products which you can use in integrations. Here you can see all 3620 products for different scenarios. So under these, when I, for example, click one, we can see that it has its software components. And under the software component, we have a software component version. For example, ADA System Archive 6.0. So here we can also create our own product, and then we can develop our own integrations under our own product. And when we, for example, have to transport it to another system, we can transport the definition, the product, from here. Let's go home. And the development side helps us to update and install new CIM versions. So that's about SLD. Now let's move on to the monitoring. For this, I will show you a shortcut. If you type in RWB, we will able to launch the runtime workbench. So this is our runtime workbench. As you see, we have the component monitoring, message monitoring, end-to-end performance, index, SLD, configuration, alert inbox, and cache monitoring. We talked about all of them. So let's have a quick look at the most used two. One is the component monitoring and the other one is the message monitoring. Now when we select component monitoring, we will get which ones we want. Okay, let's display all. Here we have the integration engine, which is not available since this is a single stack Java only system. It does not contain an integration engine, which will be the future of PI. Also, it doesn't contain a business process engine, but it does contain a mapping runtime and it does contain the adapter engine. So we see that the mapping runtime and the adapter engine are green, and under this we are able to access one other important part, which is the communication channel monitoring. Here we can see and monitor if all our communication channels or adapters are working. Here we have a lot of sample adapters, which are, for example, of adapter type file, and we have two of adapter type SOAP, and they are all green, meaning without error. These two channels are stopped. So let's close this. Also, we have here an engine set, and we have the important things, the repeat self-test, so we can test if the adapter if there's any problem in the adapter engine. If it's green, then this means there's no error. Let's move on to the message monitoring. Here we have the option to choose an adapter engine. This is used when you have several adapter engines installed and you want to monitor them from one place. In our installation, we just have one adapter engine, and then we can choose what kind of monitoring we want to see. Do we want to see an overview? Do you want to see archive messages, or do we want to see the actual database? Let's go with the overview. Let's say display. We get the time interval, a filter, and then we can see that sender component BC sender system, and the receiver component is the BC receiver system. Interface is an invoice info interface, and we have 11 successful messages. Now when I say database, it will show me the details, all messages. So let's say today, I think we will see some messages, and yes, here we will see we see the 12 messages one by one, and we can check whether they are successful or not, and if there is any error, we can check what kind of error we did get. So since we are going to use the component monitoring and the message monitoring, I will not dive into the other monitorings. They are really deep, and we have to also spend time. I might add these monitorings to the lecture in a later time. So let's continue with the enterprise service repository. Let's close this one and let's open our SAP NetWeaver Studio, our Eclipse tool. So it's opening, and there we are. If you're familiar with Eclipse, then this will be very familiar to you. So we have the integration directory part. Here we can see it as PI Explorer, and then we have the Enterprise Service Browser, the Enterprise Service Repository. They are right now offline, which means Eclipse didn't connect to the server to get the related objects. Now let's connect to the server. It's connecting. Now it retrieves software component versions, related namespaces, and related objects, and there we are. This is predefined. It comes with the installation. It has helper namespaces, and then we have here 2 samples which I created before. These are software component versions which were created in the SLDs. So when you create a software component version, then you can edit from here. Let's say you say software component version. You have the option to create one locally, or you can say import from SLD. It reads the objects from the SLD, and then you can search for your own component version. So I will cancel this. Let's wait to finish it. So then you start to creating namespaces under your software component version. You can think of namespaces like different projects. They can be related with each other, but don't have to. I must use namespaces for each scenario. For example, we have a namespace for file-to-file. We have a namespace for a second file-to-file scenario. We have a namespace for recipient list scenario. And we have a namespace for a web service to web service scenario. So after you create a namespace, then you will dive deeper. Let's take this as a sample, into the objects, and you will create, as I explained before, first of all, data types. These are, as said, XML elements which are based on XSD definitions. Now let's open one, and when you say source, you will see an XSD definition which is totally compatible with open standards. By the way, I opened a message type. I wanted to open a data type. So let's see. Yeah, here we have XSD definition. Also, we have an output message. It has its own XSD definition. And in this scenario, what we are doing is we are transforming this input message to this output message. So then we have the wrappers. The message types, they wrap the data type. When you look at them, here you will see that we have the data type in it. Let me just quickly check. Yeah, here we have it. Data type input. Also, we have a wrapper for the message type output, which you can also see here, and we have the source here. So after that, after we have created our 2 message types, we create the service interface, which we set, as said, it has 2 important properties. The first one is selected here, and it says category. Is it an outbound or an inbound message, or in CC/BPM, which we will not cover because it's a ABAP based tool on PI, and this is a single stack installation. We will just cover the outbound and inbound. Outbound means that this interface represents a file which will come to the PI system. And then the second important property is, let me show you the type. Is it synchronous or asynchronous integration? This is an asynchronous integration. We take a file and then we send it. There is no return. In synchronous integrations, we take the input, send it, receive a response, and send the response back to the sender system. So we have a service interface also for output. Here we can see that's in inbound, meaning receiver side, and then we have here again an asynchronous type. So then we move on to the message mapping or transformation, and from here, when you choose the definition, also let me show you this. Here we have the source message, and here we have target message. Source is the message type input and target is the message type output. And in the definition itself, we have the mapping, which shows that when I double click here, that we take the name and surname and concat them and write it to the full name field. Okay, now let's move on. Then we create an operation mapping. This operation mapping takes a source operation and a target operation, which are our interfaces. And as you know, under the interface, here we have our message type. We say that this interface will receive this message type, and that this, the output service interface, will receive this message type. So in the operation mapping, we choose that the source operation will be the input service interface and that the target operation will be the output service interface. It might be a little bit complicated right now if you're not familiar with PI, but when we start to do this file-to-file integration step by step, it will be clearer, promised. So when you look at the definition, you will see that we have a input message type and a message type output, which is here. When I double click, I see that the message mapping is the one I showed you. So here you can say, okay, in this operation mapping I will use this message mapping. After this, we complete our objects definitions here. So there are other kind of objects, but that are a bit more advanced. So we will leave it here right now, and we will continue to the integration directory. In the integration directory, we have two important folders. One is the integration flow and one is the systems folder. Let's close these. So in the systems folder, we define sender or receiver systems. So we can do this in the SLD as I showed you. First you create a technical system, and then on top of that technical system you create a business system. Or you can come here and create a new business component. Or here, for example, we have import business system. It will go to the SLD, read from SLD, and get the business system from there. We saw this also there. But I, in this scenario, created my own business components, which you can do. Under these are our communication channels. So we have two communication channels here. These are file. One is a sender, one is a receiver. If I double click, I will see the communication, the adapter. So we have adapter type file, NFS file system. So it will read a file from this local system and it will write it to the local system, as we see in the receiver adapter. We have also the option to choose FTP. Then it will ask for other parameters like which IP, etc., like server and port. So, and we have, when I say browse, I will see other adapter kinds. We talked about these in the presentation before. So the next important part is the integration flow, our graphical representation of our integration. So when I say new integration flow, I will see the templates, the patterns which are predefined. So I can choose anyone, or I don't have to choose anyone. I can also do my own. This will just help you go a little bit faster. So let's say cancel. Let's open this one. Here we can see clearly we have one sender system, we have one receiver system. The sender uses the SI input interface, which we created in the Enterprise Service Browser repository. It sends it using the communication channel CC sender, which is a file. So when I double click it, I see the properties. Here I see adapter specific fields. So after we receive the message, sorry, I accidentally closed this one. So this sender system is sending this message, and you know that under the service interface we have the message type, and under the message type we have the data type. So we know what type of structure we will receive. We will receive this structure to a file, and then it will go into our process integration, into our runtime. From there on, we have to decide where it will go. Then we have a message mapping. It will be mapped, and then it will go out to our receiver system, which has the service interface output. Again, we know which message type is assigned to the service interface output and which data type is assigned to the message type. So this gives us a clear picture of what's going on. So we have the sender, receiver, or channels here, sender channel, receiver channel, and then we have a mapping. We don't have to use a mapping. If this structure and this structure is the same, then we can remove this one, and we can then send the message directly through PI through the receiver. Or for example, we have also more complicated integration flows. Let's look at this. We also cover this one. Yes, please. Interesting. Let's try it again. Couldn't augment to a connection integration no longer exists. So let's disconnect and then reconnect. Okay. Interesting. Let's assume I entered the wrong password. Okay, I think the server went offline. Let me check that. So my license expired, so I will not be able to show you the recipient list integration flow, but in the hands-on training where we have the dynamic and constant recipient list, there you will see it, and I will walk you through how it is done. So then yeah, that's it for now. I hope the demo was showed you what are the main components we are using in an integration, and I wish you good luck for the hands-on training. There I will guide you step by step through the definitions, through the creation and configuration, and at the end through monitoring. So see you.